Faith is my shield. Fire is my weapon. With it I will cleanse the mutant, the alien, and the heretic.
We are charged to cleanse the mutant, the heretic, the alien.
Or say it in that order, sure. They also kill witches and at one time were in Codex Witchhunters instead of being in Codex Battle Sisters, or Adepta Sororitas as it's now called, just so other companies can't sell Adepta Sororitas models. But we all call them Battle Sisters. They are a sisterhood and they go into battle. For their rules in 10th edition we know a few, and I predicted yesterday in my video on Genestealer Cult and Demons, which is linked at the end, that they would get to pray for a blessing like the Chaos Space Marines do. Well, the Chaos Space Marines Dark Pact rule means they get a blessing, but it is possible some of them may die, a sacrifice they are willing to make. For Battle Sisters, they do have to die in order to spur on the survivors with their martyrdom. The Blood of Martyrs is the seed of the Imperium, so they say. Each unit can do an act of faith once per phase, so we're no longer limited to once per phase per army, or twice per phase if a unit that does it second has a simulacrum. At the start of your turn, and also whenever one of your Battle Sister units is killed, you gain dice. Much like in 8th and 9th edition, it is a D6 miracle dice. You can use this D6 instead of a dice before you roll the dice, so don't get excited at your 2+ to hit all-important shot. You have to stay calm and remember to use up that otherwise useless 2 miracle dice that you have stored up. The rule is much more explicit on what you can use your miracle dice for, but is the same as 9th edition. You can only use 1 dice to make a long distance charge, so from a basic rules point of view we can see that charging is still a random distance and that you roll 2 dice. The rolls you can use it on are listed alphabetically, rather than in an order that you would use it in a turn. Okay. Battle Shock in the command phase, to keep sisters fighting. Advanced rolls in the movement phase. Hit, wound and damage rolls in either player's combat phase, your own shooting phase, and when doing Overwatch in your enemy's turn. Save rolls to keep your ladies alive, and charge rolls to make those difficult charges when arriving in reserve, which is 9 inches. You could use a 6 as one of your dice, and then you would just need a 3+ on the other dice. Good luck. This presents a problem though compared to 8th and 9th edition. There's no longer a use for wands. The morale has changed so that rather than rolling low for morale, you want to roll high, which is consistent with all of the other parts of the game. However, this means that before, when you get a miracle dice of 1, you could think, there's a automatically pass leadership test. Well, now it's just a rubbish dice. One of your units died and you got a 1, which is kind of insulting. That's their value. Your value is 1. So it does rather rank miracle dice rather highly, and you massively want those high numbers, and the low numbers are just not useful. One tactic you could use is to have lots of small units to get more miracle dice. While the Imperial Guard are blobbing up to units of 20, the Sisters will be going small. It looks like the Munitorum units will have the same faction rules, so get lots and lots of small units like Penitent Engines, Arco-Flagellants, and just chuck them at the enemy. Hope that they die, and then get some miracle dice off it to help the rest of your army. So done this way, a lack of miracle dice will not be an issue. It's just a really strange mechanic. The Sisters are taking the default sub-faction of our Martyred Lady. As we should have expected, they are the poster girls for Battle Sisters and got more miracle dice as their units died. I saw this as rewarding failure, and too similar to how the World Eaters and Khorne play, where blood flowing gives them bonuses, and they also want their units to die. I played the Sacred Rose sub-faction, hence the white pinned rose on my coat. They got more miracle dice from using miracle dice, giving you more miracles to merit. I liked that. But now, losing units is how you make your army fight better. The detachment is called Blood of Martyrs, and wouldn't you know it, it is basically the same special rule as our Martyred Lady in 9th edition. Your units that have lost people hit better, and if the unit is under half strength as well, it wounds better. This is okay. You will lose soldiers in the fight, you may as well get some benefit from it. The problem is that characters also have this benefit, and if they take a wound, they fight better. If they are below half their starting wounds, then they wound better. I really hope there is no self-harm mechanic available. You may remember that back in, I think it was 6th edition, the Tau had a special rule related to their ethereal. If he died, then the army fought harder. His natural leadership abilities were not great, so a tactic was to have him climb up a building and then jump off. Before the army cried out, "Damn the enemy, they killed our ethereal, fight harder!" I really don't like that getting hurt and letting your sisters suffer so that you fight harder is the main mechanic. Women should be supporting each other, not hoping they go down. Other armies all have better, more supportive rules than this. I don't think Games Workshop hates women or anything. I'm just disappointed that this is the focus route they went down. I expected the sisters would get sacred rights to choose a prayer to benefit the army like they do currently, and like the Tyranids have as their detachment bonus. However, detachments are how the flavour of an army's sub-faction is relayed, and we will have to wait for more than a year before a Battle Sisters Codex with more options becomes available. I will be rather irritated if it is the last one to come out and only playable for a little bit, like in 2nd edition, which is when I started playing. The first unit shown off is the Triumph of St Katherine, which is 6 ladies guarding a saint's bones, and even though there are 6 people, only 2 of them can use their abilities at any one time, and they have to fight for the spotlight like an idol group with loads of behind-the-scenes drama. So like a commentator on an idol, which I definitely am not, apart from that video I did on Pikami. Well, let's pretend I am, and let's rank the 6 abilities and their idol members that wield those relics. I think the worst one is the Ebon Chalice. This lets a unit within 6 inches perform any number of acts of faith instead of just one. So it is a power that lets you use more of your miracle dice resource, and I just don't think you'll have enough miracle dice. We'll see, we have more rules to come. You get 1 per player turn, and then more if you start to lose the game and lose units. Unless you are having an army with lots of small units that you're throwing away and then get killed, you won't have that many dice, and even if you do have dice, remember these are d6s, so 1s and 2s are basically useless, 3s and 4s rarely useful, and the ones you want are 5 and 6s, to let you do the really miraculous things. So I don't think activating the Ebon Chalice will be particularly worth it, unless it's like the last 2 units you have remaining, and you really want to get your use out of all of those miracle dice you've got piled up. I like the Sacred Rose. I stand the Sacred Rose. They are my Kamiyoshi. That's a VTuber term. It comes from the Japanese to push, Hoshi, and Kami meaning God. So your Kamiyoshi is your favorite VTuber, the one you tell your friends about, post online about them, and want more people to notice them. Yeah, I explain VTubers to 40k people and 40k to VTuber fans. Also, I explain 40k to 40k people and VTuber stuff to VTuber fans. Anyway, Sacred Rose increases leadership by 1 within 6 inches. Well, leadership tests are taken before movement in the game turn, so you have to remember in your previous turn to move close and not have the units head charge off at the enemy. This is the problem in 9th edition with characters being separate to the units, they get left behind. However, it is useful if you're about to take a leadership test for a unit in the command phase, and from what I've read of the rules, I'm inferring that benefits and buffs come before debuffs, and then the leadership roll, so it is situational, but could be useful to have +1 leadership. With the Battle Sisters having leadership 7, raising that to 8 doesn't massively increase the odds of passing because of how 2d6 statistics work. Also fighting for a low-ranking position is our Martyred Lady, the order formerly known as the Fiery Heart. They are the ones that do all this dying and enjoy it. If you choose the Fiery Heart, then you have a woman staring at you waiting for you to die, and she is on your side. If a unit dies within 6 inches of the Triumph, then you get a 6 on that miracle dice instead of having to roll it. So you have to be doing something like defending an objective, see the enemy coming, and know that you will probably lose for this relic to be at its most powerful. BP. A better one, to keep your ladies alive, is the Relic of the Valorous Heart, which grants a 6+ feel no pain. It's a little something against small arms, but only a little. If this was a tier list, then I'd be putting all 4 of these really low down. The Bloody Rose recognizes that killing the enemy is the path to victory. They were the most popular sub-faction of the Battle Sisters among players for their special rules and love of close combat violence. Getting lethal hits means that when a Sisterhood unit attacks and roll a 6 to hit, that auto wounds. You can take down a tank with fists and enough attacks and luck. It relies on the Triumph being close and not left behind by a unit charging, so hopefully the Triumph can be included in a unit like Celestian Sacrosanct and isn't operating alone. The relic of the Argent Shroud gives the best bonuses in my opinion, an extra shot with all the rapid fire weapons within 6 inches. This is mostly bolters that will benefit since the Battle Sisters don't really use plasma, they have the holy trinity of bolt weapons, melter and flamers. But for my army I have a gun line of bolters and faith, with melters and flamers sprinkled in. Definitely no plasma. That would suit my army but may not suit yours. Let me know which one you think is the best for your army. As an idle group, I wouldn't sign them. And you know, one of their members is dead and they can't really move on from that. So we'll be leaving this unit on the shelf, if I had one. The unit, not the shelf. I have shelves. Moving on, the Battle Sisters themselves, a very valuable unit. Their weapons are basically the same as before, and you can see that the bolt gun is rapid fire 1, whereas the bolt guns on Marines is 2 shots. If you're wondering why, that is to add in the rules about bolter discipline that the Marines had. But note here that melter weapons are strength 9 instead of strength 8, as they were in the last 2 editions, and the multi-melter is reduced to 18-inch range. The heavy bolter and multi-melter hit on a 4+, but if you stay still, they hit on a 3+. This is basically what we have at the moment, but flipped, to give you a -1 if you move. Same result. The heavy bolter gets sustained hits, and we've seen that on the Imperial Guard heavy bolters on Monday. This gives you an extra hit if you roll a 6, so you could fire 3 shots or get 4 hits if one of them was a 6. I'm not seeing a combi weapon for the Sister Superior. I suspect that will be listed separately along with other pistol options. The datasheet is there to keep things simple for their most common weapons. As I predicted yesterday, the 6+ invuln save is on the datasheet instead of as an army special rule, which is nice and easy. I'd also thought of the idea that Sisters might become toughness 4 like in 2nd edition, but gave up on that a while ago once I saw that regular Space Marines were still toughness 4. Like the Necron Warriors, Cadian Shock Troops and Chaos Marines shown off already, we're seeing consistently that battle line units get a bonus if they take an objective in a game of Warhammer 40,000. This is very good from a rules design point of view, because there was always a struggle to justify why basic troops should be on an objective. Well, now they get a benefit to doing their job instead of just being told to do the job. For each objective with a Battle Sister squad on it, you get a miracle dice. This is one of the problems with miracle dice fixed, not having enough of them. All the Sisters benefit from this job being done right. I would take a few of these squads in your army just to get them onto objectives. This could effectively double the number of miracle dice you're getting in your turn, because just defending your own home base will grant you an extra miracle dice as long as it's this unit on that objective. I'm not too sure about the Cherub for the unit to use a free miracle dice. It could be a way to reroll a bad dice, have a Sister deliberately roll a 1 just to get rid of a low miracle dice and gain a new one. That seems a really bad workaround mechanic for a unit that isn't particularly going to be doing massive killing, especially if there's just a small squad of 5 that wants to be holding objectives. Do know that this is a baked-in ability and not an add-on paid-for upgrade. The War Gear upgrade is the Simulacrum, which gives a miracle dice if the unit kills an enemy unit. But we have just established that this squad should not be killing but sitting on objectives and making miracle tea. I would save the Simulacrum for units like Celestians that have more of a role in damage dealing. Unless we don't take small squads, would have one big squad of 10. Or maybe we can have a squad of 20 again. The Imperial Guard can, and it would be worth taking a Simulacrum. The only issue then is we're not meant to be a massive damage causing unit, and we have to put a lot of points to have the unit do something they were not designed for. I'll try it out more in 10th edition. Again, what do you think? There is a comment section below that subscribe button if you want to use it. If you did want your Sisters to go and fight the enemy in a large group, you can leave your portable church organ behind. The Exorcist tank has 2 rocket options, both are okay for this edition, nothing too crazy, thankfully. You can fire these indirectly and indirect shots work the same as currently. You fire at -1 to hit, and the enemy gets +1 to their save. Well, they get the benefits of cover, which can't also stack with the benefits of cover. It's overall +1 to their save, unless they were already getting that by being in cover. However, look closer and we will go deeper. That was the sound of the orb. The conflagration rockets won't suffer any of these penalties. By being a heavy weapon, you get +1 to hit if you remain stationary. Obviously, you can do that and then just fire indirectly. And their shots ignore cover, so all the bad parts about firing directly are mitigated. Go nuts! The regular Exorcist missile launcher doesn't have blast anymore, so it will struggle to take out lots of heavy infantry as its job became in the recent editions. Thankfully, it is D6 +2 shots, and not back to D6 from previous editions, which really put a damper on it when you rolled a 1 for your massive tank. And remember, you can't use miracle dice to decide the number of shots you get. The random damage also suits taking on tanks rather than heavy infantry, although if you were to fire at some Chaos Terminators with their toughness 5 and 4+ invulnerable save, you would be wounding on 2s. Don't use a miracle dice yet. And if they fail their save, use up one of those barely useful 3 miracle dice which you have stored up. Again, the indirect fire is countered by remaining stationary. My guesses for this unit is that the 2 types of missiles will cost the same points. They haven't done so before, but they look to be roughly equal in value, just specialised against different units. I also expect the Exorcist will be tougher, like toughness 10 in line with other battle tanks, instead of toughness 9 like the Rhino. Even though the Exorcist uses a Rhino chassis, it has been tougher in 8th edition. Hopefully they don't cost too many points for their damage output. That is the biggest reason why they're not widely used in the current edition. Morvenn Vahl is also here and has a big sword. It isn't as good as a Carnifex, and we don't know much about his support or leadership abilities, so let's just move on to stratagems. Rejoice the Fallen. This allows you to shoot in the enemy's turn after they've killed one or more of your models. You can shoot as if it was your own shooting phase, and it must target the enemy unit that was doing the killing. Now we have some more utility for those bolters. And this is a very nice one, but for your opponent it is kind of a haha, gotcha kind of moment. It lets you shoot, and with the Blood of Martyrs bonus for at least +1 to hit in the enemy turn. Big groups of sisters look like they could be the way to go. It only works if the enemy unit kills one of your sisters in the shooting phase, and you can only target the unit that fired the shots that killed the sister or sisters. So if the enemy had a character and it wants to charge and fires its pistol because it can, it kills one sister and then gets obliterated by the sisters before it can get into combat. Powerful, but mean. If you are fighting Battle Sisters in 10th edition, remember this. Wipe out whole squads. It gives them a miracle dice, but that is better than letting some of them live with all these bonuses and chances to retaliate. Overall though, I think the sisters are looking like one of the factions of 10th edition. Just the way I like it. Quite balanced. When I started this video, I was worried that Games Workshop was going to make them into a group of women that hate their fellow women and just want to see them suffer. I am glad that is not the case. What the fluff is that? When they come out properly, the sisters will be the first army I look at in detail, as I couldn't easily find a YouTuber who focuses almost exclusively on battle system rules. Let me know if there is one. If not, it could be me. I also like the Gene Stealer cult. But I will continue to talk about all armies. The sisters are one close to my heart, my fiery heart, no, my sacred rose. When I know more about Crusade, we can look at my Crusade army for the sisters and convert it over to 10th edition. As we go on, we'll be looking at rumours and guesses, like I guess the Dominions will get Scout 6, like the Gene Stealers showing off so they can move 6 inches before the battle starts, how strong miracle dice are, and if we have enough, we'll have to wait until 10th edition proper to see. I'll bring you a whole pile of rumours very soon. Until you see me in that video, my darlings and viewers, have a great day of 40k.